The Wests Tigers podcast is brought to you by the Wests Tigers Podcast Forum. Join the conversation today at weststigerspodcast.com.au.
It's the West Tigers podcast, episode number 448, available on YouTube if you want to stare at our ugly mugs. I'm not exactly sure why anybody would want to do that.
Speak for yourself there, Joel.
Otherwise, Spotify, all those other places you can get the podcast. And we appreciate you listening in or watching in. It's very much appreciated. And don't forget to join the conversation all the time at West Tigers Podcast Forum. Really, really easy to join up. Jordan, Nick, and Josh are here with us tonight. Middle of the week. It's the final countdown to the game against South. Different to the Cowboys game. We're going to start as outsiders in this game. Nick, how are you feeling at this point after seeing the lineup? We're going to talk a little bit about the backline and things like that, but confident, not so confident, somewhere in between?
Look, Joel, I'm feeling fantastic to begin with after last week, and I'm ready for the season to wrap up. So we're undefeated in 2026 and having a great time. But yeah, let's see how we go. The more I've been thinking about this matchup on this coming Saturday, I don't know, I've been a mix between nervous and excited. So I think it'll be a much tougher ask. Souths were pretty impressive. I only watched the highlights of that game against the Roosters from the weekend, but they're a different team, especially on paper, to the Cowboys. So it's going to be a different challenge. But if we can come out with the same sort of level of excitement and intent that we did against the Cowboys, I think we're a chance.
It's Josh, when you follow a team as long as we all have, you get to sort of see the way that things often pan out. And often the West Tigers would win on that game against the Cowboys because the Cowboys weren't sensational. Read their own headlines, and we'll talk a little bit about that as well because Benji's made a couple of comments about that. But come out against a better team and not quite be there. Like, that's what we're all worried about, that this is going to be a test, and it's a test we're not going to succeed in.
I think it's a huge test, and hopefully it is one we succeed in. But I think if you look at it, we've played better last week than we have when we had other wins. It wasn't a scrape-through win. It wasn't fancy. We actually played good football for the whole match. As Benji keeps saying, it's a new season. What I liked is that I saw Alex Seyfarth today and Appy yesterday talk about how they used to come out and, after a win, we'd pat ourselves on the back. But actually now we're really focused on the next week. That game's over. Let's move forward. We've only won one game. It's a different attitude to I think we saw over those few years of the spoon and that kind of thing. So hopefully that translates onto the field on the weekend and we smash the Bunnies.
It's going to be hard to know what South's team we get, Jordan, isn't it? Because last week's event for them, it was a very, very unusual game, a very unusual set of circumstances. I thought they played pretty well against the Roosters, but the Roosters definitely lifted. They could be a little bit flat against us. We don't really know the form line of Souths. I mean, their forward pack's got a few question marks about it as well. What do you expect from them?
It's going to be about momentum. The whole game's going to be about momentum. If we give them the opportunity to have the field position and the upper hand, they can run away with a game really, really quickly, especially with some of the talented players that they have. It's hard to really go if they would have carried on with the whole second half against the Roosters because obviously of the break with all the fans on the field. So you've sort of it's not a adequate sort of kind of measurement, but it will be all about momentum. If we don't start strong and start fast, they will run us over.
I mean, and our momentum was very much helped, justifiably so, in that game against the Cowboys. We got a lot of six agains. The Cowboys were playing that game of trying to slow us down, and that's the way that that game was reffed. We don't know exactly what's going to happen with this game in terms of adjudicating. Just further to those statements talking about the change of attitude, Nick. So we all know that Benji said in the Rising videos, he was witnessed on camera saying, if you don't like it, if you're not here to perform, there's the door, which is fantastic. But as Josh was referencing, a little bit of a change in attitude in that we're not going to get too caught up on our wins. And sometimes in the past, the West Tigers have read the headlines, and sometimes that's been detrimental. Is this just another sign of to be optimistic about the attitude change that seems to be happening in the club?
I think, well, like you just said, right, in the Rising series, Benji highlighted it. He said, it's a different team, it's a different mentality. There's the door, and we've shown senior players the door before, and he's not afraid to do it again. The thing that stands out for me is Jerome. So he's very vocal about staying humble. So every opportunity he gets when he's interviewed after a game, he talks about the things that did well, always mentions the things that they need to improve on. But he's always saying we just have to stay humble. Obviously, he talks about wanting to get the W's this season, and that's huge. He obviously is here for success. But he's such a leader. I think everyone's going to buy into, not just what Benji's saying, but also Romy. Being humble is obviously extremely important because, like you were just alluding to, you can't get all excited like us fans are after one win and say, hey, we're on the way up, here we go. Because as we have all found out before, you lose 2, 3, 4 in a row, and all of a sudden you're up poop creek. So it can turn very quickly, but I'm confident this year is going to be different, Joel. I'm very hopeful anyway. So big challenge, but looking forward to it, and I think we'll be up for it this week.
I just have to laugh at my brain a little bit because I've looked at Nick with his scarf on. And I've thought of Justin Pascoe, and then I've looked over to Josh, and he's got his Bryden's jacket on, and I'm thinking of Lee. And it's like the past is coming back to haunt me.
God, I hope I don't remind you of someone else.
Josh, now further to all of that discussion about the change of attitude, did you see the Terrell May interview that he did with Kai Pearce-Paul? If you haven't, it's okay because your face is saying no, I haven't watched it yet.
No, I haven't.
But it's actually really good. I'm about halfway through and it's quite interesting. There's some stuff in there like dance music and stuff that they talk about that's gone completely over the top of my head. But what Terrell said to what Kai Pearce-Paul said to Terrell about the West Tigers was that he's noticed when the Knights played the Tigers last year, for example, and watching the Tigers on TV, just how connected the playing group is. And that was one thing that attracted him to want to come to the club. And I know that this sort of echoes what we spoke about post-game on the weekend, where we were sort of comparing with Penrith. But it seems to me that that is another reason to be optimistic and something to celebrate and see that's great is that the boys seem to be really connected. And even the outside of our team is starting to notice that.
They do look really connected, and it's something we've noticed. It also speaks to the value that Jerome Luai has brought to the club. Like, it's the on-field stuff is great, and he had a magical game last weekend. But he's brought that energy and that culture, and he brought people with him. Taruva also brings it. I think the Mays bring it. But I think Jerome's the leader, not just of the team, but he's kind of brought that attitude and that energy and that culture to the team. With Benji, I think, having Benji in and been here a year or two, players want to come here. They want to play with Benji. You've got Appy, you've got Jerome. We've really built a culture, and I think for many years we kind of didn't have that. We were a place where people came because they didn't have other options. Now I feel like people want to come to the club, and that, I think also the Galvin stuff last year, for all the bad of it, it really brought the rest of them together. And you kind of see that kind of as the season progressed last year, there was a real connection. I mean, especially when they did beat the Dogs at the end of the year.
Yeah.
But last week, it looked like they were playing well, but it also looked like they were having fun out there, and they've got attitude. And that's great to see. So I think Jerome's brought a lot of that, and I think hopefully we see that continue. I thought they really took it to Reed Marnie last week, who's kind of a niggler. And I heard someone saying on one of the kind of talking heads talking about the fact that Tigers aren't a club you do that to because they have guys with passion and with attitude, and it's not a team that you should bring that onto. So hopefully it keeps going that way.
Yeah. Jordan, I really respect your knowledge of the game and the way that you think and the way that you confront things. Something else that came up in that interview was the talk between Terrell and KPP about how Benji is just like one of the guys, and he's really easy to chat to, and really, there's no sort of like airs and graces with him, if that makes sense. Like you don't have to play the game with him; you just go and talk to him, which sort of leads me into that question about maybe. I guess maybe there's a few situations or a few times in the past with coaches of other clubs that have been younger where it hasn't quite worked out. But I mean, I think that's probably the way the game's going, isn't it? Where the players are sort of more independent, and then you really just need someone to sort of motivate them and keep them on track rather than actually, coaching them 24/7.
100%. As a coach myself, you've got to have that ability. It's about man management. Like Wayne Bennett's one of the best man managers, and that's just because he sort of kind of looks after the player as a whole, not just as a football player. From a coaching perspective, I do that with a lot of my teams. I've got a lot of relationships with players that I still don't even coach anymore.
Yeah.
But it is purely based on that I like to know them as a person and not just a player, because if you can create that environment and that team environment, skill sort of kind of takes a backward step. Because if you've got a group of players that want to play for the coach and want to play for each other, they lift. They all carry each other. They all bring each other with it. And that's probably the thing I've noticed a lot with the communication and talk with Benji. And it's not the kind of Jason Taylor situation where he's trying to be one of the boys and be that coach that forces himself into the situation. Benji is actually one of those man managers and one of those people that he already has the respect, and that when he talks, people listen.
Yeah.
So it's a big attitude to have, and it's a big attribute to have, and it's not one that can be taught. It is one that you command the room just through your experience, through your respect, and through your general attitude. And once you command that room, you can achieve anything with any skilled or any level of skill of a team.
You're spot on, Jordan. I was just going to jump in and back you up there, but it's very obvious that Benji's got that aura about him, and like Josh was saying, he's that kind of person that people are attracted to. And Appy was the first one to come across, but it took him to come across and stick it through two wooden spoons after winning the premiership. To be able to convince someone like Jerome and then the others that all followed. But that just triggered something. I might have mentioned it last week in the pod that I did mention that I got to play golf with Uppy Coruscant a couple of weeks ago. And one of the things that Uppy mentioned was how much he's seen a development in Benji. What are you laughing at, Josh? I keep talking about my mate Uppy.
Name dropping. Yeah.
Haven't got his phone number yet, but Uppy, if you're listening, send it over, mate. But yeah, he did mention the development of Benji as a coach, and you can see that as well. And one thing he said is he is one of the boys, and he's just like one of the group, but he knows when to flick that switch and when to turn into coach mode, and the players all respect that. So that's huge.
Which comes to actually an interesting point, Josh, which is, I mean, you're a parent, aren't you?
Yes.
Yes, I could tell by the grey hair.
Yeah.
The best parents, and we've all had parents, the best parents are the ones that aren't in your face all the time. They're the ones that are maybe casual is not the right word, but then when it gets serious, you really listen. And if you've got a parent that's like constantly on you, or a manager at work that's micromanaging and constantly on you, that there's no other gear to go to. So maybe that's why this has the potential to work, because it's kind of like, well, if you've got Benji out of that mode, you know it's serious.
I think that's a really good point, Joel. Benji obviously has a lot of respect. He's not Madge, who, for all his winning ways, would, as we've seen at lots of clubs, and I think we're going to see at the Broncos over the next couple of years, Madge wears on people because of that kind of in your face. And look, he does win comps, but it doesn't last. And I think with Benji, there's a real opportunity for this to last over time and build those relationships, build a place where people want to come and keep coming. And he does seem like a coach who people just want to gravitate towards. As a bloke, he's always been, whatever Benji's done, he's been successful, and perhaps that's kind of going to rub off on us. And this is the season where it'll start to come true. So.
Yeah, and look, it may not culminate in what we want this year, but I can't see it touch wood, I'm not going to walk under any ladders or anything like that, but I can't see this year turning really bad. I know this is a terrible thing to say, after round two,
We play
but
one game.
it's going to be a year to build on. Like there'll be something there that we can build further on, is what at least my hope is for the season. But that, if you ask me what this year looks like, I would say, something along the lines of what might be described as a watershed year.
He's also been able to pull together a good roster, though. Like
Yeah,
that kind of
makes
helps.
a big difference.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Makes a huge difference. There's plenty of guys that aren't fantastic coaches, but happen to have very good teams, and they look like geniuses. Bronson Xerri, Jordan, there's a little bit of talk about him being unhappy at the Bulldogs. It seems to me a story that's not going away. It seems to me that it's going to be only a matter of time before he does depart from Belmore. There's been some links with the West Tigers. He's got the same manager as Benji, so there's some stuff potentially going on there. Is there room for a left centre in Bronson Xerri at the Tigers?
Definitely. On a personal point for me, I think there is. The problem that we've seen, and we see it this week with just losing May, we are very thin in the outside backs. The kind of contracts with Will Craig and Solomon Sakuru, they're hurting us. Those two aren't ready for first grade. They're not ready to be in the outside backs of first grade. And now we've got an out-and-out winger playing centre. So I think there's definitely a spot. The attitude issue, the little dig from Serraldo today, for me, all but confirms that he's pretty much not going to be there in the near future. I don't know if there's something else going on in the background. There's been a lot of rumours. You can't believe a lot of things you see on social media. But if it is the whole I've been dropped and he's, throwing the baby out with the bathwater, I think that's probably the biggest concern. But I think in the same point of time that if he comes to us, the likes of Jerome and Appy and all that will make him pull his head in. But we have serious lack of depth in the outside backs at the moment. We've got some good kids coming through, but none of them are ready. So even if it was just a 18-month deal for the time being, I think he's worth the risk.
I was thinking about this a bit today, Jordan. It does make me wonder whether there's something else going on at the Dogs, because when it came out, and I read something today about the fact that he was told that the Bulldogs wanted to play him at right centre instead of left centre, and then apparently he threw a wobbly and said, I don't want to play there. That sort of attitude, Benji would not cop that. Like, Benji's moved Taylor across the other side, and he's shuffled Macassini from wing to centre, and Skelton sat out on the bench and come and filled in, done a great job. But it's going to be like that, probably regardless of where you go, to be honest. There's not many clubs where you lock in, on one side and something doesn't come up where you have to move. So just makes me wonder whether something else is happening at the Dogs for that unhappiness to come up. Maybe he's just part of the Bulldogs implosion that kicked off when Galvin went over there last year. Who knows?
Having the same manager is going to have... Benji's going to have the inside word on that, though.
Yeah.
I genuinely feel if he thought there was an attitude issue or if it was going to be something that's going to disrupt team harmony, he wouldn't risk it.
Yep.
I think the other thing to remember is that John Morris, who's Benji's assistant, was the coach who brought Bronson Xerri into first grade at the Sharks and was coaching him in the juniors at the Sharks before he kind of took on the first grade there. So they'd have a long relationship from there. And I know he supported him through the drug suspension because John Morris coached at the time. I was reading that today. So he'd have a really good connection with Bronson Xerri. Benji's obviously manager, but I think it's probably more the John Morris piece. Like that's someone who's coached him, brought him into first grade, coached him in the juniors, and he'd obviously know him well. He'd know the family. He'd know some of the stuff he went through. So I think that's an interesting connection, and perhaps that's where it's coming from.
The funny thing is that I remember Bronson Xerri playing for the Sharks, but a vivid memory of him running down the right-hand side touchline, which I had thought if you'd asked me a week ago, what side does Bronson Xerri prefer? He's a right side player, but apparently he's a left side player.
He did start at the Sharks on the right side, so he made it. I was watching his debut video with John Morris, and John Morris said, "You're playing on the right this week. You're all set." So I think the season after he moved over to the left, but his first year with the Sharks, he was on the right.
Was on the right. There you go. God, it's amazing what's in the back of your mind that you remember for no good reason. But let's do the math. Like Luke Lilley is going to be off the bus at the end of the year. So you've got Makasini, you've got Taruva, and they're going to be guaranteed starts. That you've got Taylor May, who's you would think is, if not 100%, at least 99% to be in the mix there. Stafford Toa, who has consistently played, of course, on the right side. Like what? And Jarrell Skelton. Like Jordan, how are all these numbers going to work? Is this a sign that maybe Toa is going to find another home?
That was busted. The guy, like, and I feel for him because we saw early last year and a little bit of the year before, he has the ability and he has the talent, but he just can't stay in the park. And if it's not, and this update on the injury with this mystery foot injury, and he had a very disrupted preseason by all accounts, and now it's like, well, how long do you and I think he's got a couple of years left with us, but how long do you carry someone who I think hasn't averaged that many games over the last few seasons?
Yeah.
It's kind of a situation that if Xerri does come along and then you've got the others already in the squad, he's just going to fall down to the bottom of the pecking order, and it'll probably just become a situation where he will end up getting an early release. So I think he's definitely at the bottom of the order at the moment, and he's going to have to fight really hard to find his way back into the squad.
Because Josh, it doesn't make sense that he was injured last year, and it appears like there wasn't surgery. Like there's something not. The math isn't mathing here. It's just not quite adding up. And then to be not available, early on this season, I don't know. It's just there's got to be something more here with Toa.
Yeah, it's interesting. Obviously, the shoulder, and they kind of rehab that. And then suppose he's got a foot injury now. And those kind of foot injuries can take a long time to heal. I mean, especially because you're a footy player, because you spend all your time, on your feet. So perhaps he's out longer than, it was listed as TBC, and that's, it's now a good couple of weeks since he did that injury, whatever it was that kept him out of round 2, because they didn't even name him. So I'm surprised they don't know what it is or how long it'll be. Maybe it is a longer term injury, and he does have, obviously, as you said, the other injury with the shoulder. That's a real concern. And if the Tigers are looking for someone like Xerri, perhaps it says Toa is looking like it's a struggle. But as we said, at the moment, we're playing an 18-year-old on one wing, an 18-year-old or a 19-year-old in the centres. We've got Jarrell Skelton playing in the centres, who's only a winger. We don't have a great deal of depth in the outside backs to begin with, and we've already got 2 guys injured. I think we do need someone to come in, and Bronson Xerri be a great option. So hopefully we can get that done. Even if the others stay, you need more than 4 fit quality backs. So, and Skelton is off contract at the end of the year too. So,
and Will Craig is not going to make it on goal kicking.
Seems not. No.
Nick.
And I'd much rather have Bronson Xerri in the mix to come in the outside backs than have to go to Heath Mason. Sorry, Heath.
Okay, so we're all voting. Come on, Bronson, we'll take you. And thanks for your service, Stafford. But if we can find you another home or a medical retirement, then
sadly, yeah, he's quality. And
definitely.
Like Josh was saying, when he is on and when he's fit and healthy, he's very, very, very good. But we haven't seen enough of it.
Speaking of centres, it's funny how things work out, because 2 weeks ago we were talking about Taylor May, potentially centre of the year. What's he going to bring? Full offload, 1 innocuous tackle at Leichhardt Oval, and Jordan, 4 weeks he's gone for, but possibly the season. Like, you can't believe that.
Yeah, Terrell May said it on Triple M after the game that his brother said that the shoulder just popped out and went straight back in. If they're saying 4 weeks, that's probably saying that there hasn't been much of a tear, but it is going to come down to stability. From personal experience, after doing it myself, you can pop it out and you'll be right, and then it takes one tap. And then even that, there was next to no impact on his shoulder when it happened. Like, it was a very, very standard tackle, and it is one of it's like a hamstring. Until you find that solution, or he has the reconstruction, it'll just be it'll be a cloud over his head for the season because it'll just take one tackle and then all of a sudden he's gone again.
You know what this highlights? That pre-seasons are no good for the Mays. They need to stay out of pre-seasons. Just get out of the gym. Just go and do your own May thing. Run some marathons. Do some push-ups or something. But
yeah. We'll see you at the end of February.
Correct.
After the last game. Yeah.
When's the first game? See you there.
What impacts, providing that we don't go to market or Bronson Xerri ends up going to, the Dragons or the Sharks or whatever. Josh, impacts on the season. How big a blow is losing Taylor?
It's a big blow at the moment because we don't have that much depth. And, if we have one more injury, we're kind of Herbert's coming up. We saw Tavana was on the extended list today, and they're okay, but it's a area we're really weak in, and I think it's the area where we're weak in without the depth. So it's a real challenge for our team because outside backs, especially on that right side where most teams attack really strongly down that left, you've got to have good defense. Personally, I kind of give Herbert will hopefully get better, but then he won't get better if he's playing on a 19-man bench and not getting on. So it's kind of one of those things where it's really interesting how they do that. Hopefully Skelton has a great game, but he's generally been a winger. I think it probably.
But Taruva will play in the centre, surely.
I don't know. I think Skelton has more size. You got Latrell running at centre for South. Perhaps it's that extra oomph of Skelton that could be keeping him there. I think Skelton plays in the centres. I don't think they're messing around there. I think he'll play in the centres.
Yeah. So it's going to be Macassini and Lily. If we go by the program, again, very, very inexperienced pairing, and they will be on our right side. And Latrell is going to be on their left side because that's where he and Johnson always play, on that side. They were certainly there last week against the Roosters. But anyway, it's going to be a challenge. I don't like, even no matter who we're playing, I would rather have a little bit of experience next to somebody who's a little bit inexperienced. I don't know. What are your thoughts on? Because the thing too is that you've got for South, they're 2, 3, 4, and 5 are all very experienced. Campbell Graham, Alex Johnson,
Jack Whiten.
Jack Whiten, the guy from Canberra, his name I can never remember. Is that where it's going to be won and lost, do you think, Jordan? That their back line, our back line? Because the forwards are pretty evenly matched, I reckon.
Forwards are matched. They'll need to set the platform. It's going to come down to field position, but my biggest concern is that side that's going to have Campbell Graham and Jack Whiten running against Macassini and Laulili. Campbell Graham's got a couple of, a good meter on Luke.
Yep.
So if we allow them opportunity to have attacking kicks in our red zone, I can just see them kicking constantly to that side.
Yeah.
Macassini's going to have to be on his game to have that defensive prowess to try and help shut that down. But my biggest concern is that side, because Jack Whiten has a great ability of isolating defenders, and I have just a feeling that if Campbell Graham gets one-on-one with Luke, he's going to beat him 9 times out of 10.
Yeah, it's a bit of a worry. It's keeping me up at night, Josh.
I think one of the interesting things is we saw with our 4 wingers in the back line, we were making great meters out of the back end.
Yeah.
South don't make great meters out of the back end. Alex Johnson just isn't that kind of player. Jai Gray's at fullback, who's tiny. Campbell Graham has generally been a centre. Latrell's not doing the dirty hit-ups, even on his best day, and either is Whiten. They actually don't make a great deal of meters out of their end, whereas we'll be having Taruva, Skelton, Lally, Macassini charging out of there. So hopefully we do win the kind of field position game, just because we've got, it's probably different to what we expected, but I think we have a real advantage in that field position game from the back line. But the defense is obviously the concern. But hopefully they don't get down our end if we're dominating that field position game.
We need to target Jai Gray, especially in that centre third kind of position, but putting Samuel Afenu and Dream Buller in that middle section of the field, kick high, and let those two challenge it, they will beat him in the air all day. We need to be targeting that sort of kind of just to the left of the goalpost and putting it in the right spot and allowing Buller to get one-on-one with him, and I think we'll win that aerial contest.
We are exactly in the same wavelength, Jordan. I was thinking about this afternoon. Jai Gray he's very short. He's a bit like a Heath Mason, right? He's a target, so we know Buller can contest a bomb, running in that same direction.
Yeah.
We've also got Sam Weller on one side, and we've got Kai Pearce-Paul, both big boys. So you've got options either if Gray's under the post or beside on either side in attack. So they might have the advantage, kicking to our wings with a couple of shorter wingers, but we've got that sort of counterbalance, attacking a small fullback. So very interesting matchup. Our edges do worry me a little bit. I think the Rabbitohs' backs are pretty creative, especially out wide, so that might be a little bit of a worry, but I think we can counteract them in other areas.
If there's one area that I want us to focus on based on the Cowboys' performances around the ruck, and they've got that young guy, the young hooker Mamazelis, who comes off the bench, is very good from dummy half as well. So that's, I think, hopefully something they've been focusing on. What are our predictions for the game, Jordan?
I think it'll be a tight contest. I think there will still be plenty of points scored, but I don't like making predictions because they hang over my head for a long period of time. But I'll go with 28-24 Tigers.
Once we get to 3 in a row, we'll never, ever mention it again, okay? So
I hope so.
It's only got to last as long until we get it. It could take another 10 years. Nick?
Look, I'm hopeful. I'm not nowhere near as confident as last week. I think I tipped a fairly healthy victory last week, now that I think about it. But look, I've already tipped Tigers in my tipping comp, but I don't have a heap of confidence. I'm a bit like Jordan. I think it'll be close. I'd like to think we can get over the top of them, but I'm very nervous. I'm very scared to say Tigers are going to win. I really don't want to put the mock on us. So I might actually flip it just for our pod. I'm going to say the Rabbitohs are going to get us probably something like 20-18, which would be very disappointing, but maybe they can prove me wrong.
It's a litmus test, I think, this one, Josh.
It is, but I think I'm having a look at those spines. Jamie Humphries, Bronson Garlick, Jai Gray versus Appy, Jerome Luai, Adam Dewey, Buller. I think Tigers by 20.
Tigers by 20.
I'm going Tigers by 16.
It's the new West Tigers.
I'd take Josh's prediction all day, every day.
That would be lovely. I mean, beating South by 1 is like winning a grand final at the best of times. I'm thinking we're going to lose 26-18. I just have that feeling. I hope I'm wrong. So we'll wait and see. So the game is Saturday night, Gosford, 7:35. I wanted to also mention just a couple of things on that reserve bench. Bunty Afoa has been named on that extended bench and not named in the New South Wales Cup, which is played just before our game up there at Gosford. And also Patrick Herbert not named in the New South Wales Cup team as well. So, I wouldn't be surprised if maybe some ducks and drakes are being played around there. What about will Bronson Xerri be a West Tiger in a week's time, Nick?
Oh, a week is a very short period of time, John.
2 weeks.
There's so many clubs in the mix. However, Benji manager, same manager as Xerri, possibly. Look, I'll lean to yes, but I'm not overly confident.
Not overly confident. Jordan, is it a chance?
I think we'll see him in a Tigers jersey for the Easter Monday clash.
Okay. And Josh, are you going to be as optimistic?
You know what? I am. I think within 2 weeks, Bronson Xerri will be running out for the Tigers. So who do we play in round 4? That's the Warriors. I think he'll be running out in the centres for us in New Zealand.
Okay, there you go. Now, something I'm going to put on the West Tigers podcast forum, and maybe you guys can have a bit of a think about it between now and the game, because we spoke about the new northern stand there at Leichhardt, and we'll do the same for Campbelltown when we know more about what those redevelopments look like. But what should be the name of that new northern stand? You've got the Wayne Pearce Hill, you've got Keith Barnes stand, like all obviously very Balmainy, but we've had 25, 26 years of the West Tigers. Do we name it after a West Tigers person? Is it the
Benji Marshall? Stadium.
The Benji Marshall stand, the Robbie Farah stand,
It'd have to be Farah for Leichhardt and Benji for the stand at Campbelltown, I'd say.
Okay. Well, I'll throw it up on the forum and see what other people have got to contribute there, and that could be a bit of fun there. I'm not exactly sure which way we should go there.
Barra for the grandstand and Benji for the whole ground. So it changes from Leichhardt Oval to Benji Oval.
Well, only if he wins a premiership as a coach.
Hey Joel, how about we throw in some money into the hat and we name the new stand the West Tigers podcast stand?
Yeah,
that
I like it. Yeah,
I like it too.
Yeah, that would be
Make it happen.
fantastic. All right, well, I'll give you my bank details, Nick, and you can make the first contribution.
No worries.
Thank you, boys. We'll come back hopefully with a post-victory edition of the West Tigers podcast on Sunday night.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, boys.